Okay, my name is Darcy, as was mentioned. I work at Korea University in Seoul, and I've worked at Korea University since about 2006. Before that, I worked for a while in corporate communications and public relations in Canada. I'm originally from Canada. And there I managed a communications network for a company which had 36 different sales centers involving about 2,000 employees. So I bring that experience with me to the Office of International Affairs at Korea University. So I hope that today, through my talk here on the Korea University International Correspondence Committee, Lessons Learned in Building an Internal Communications Network for Internationalization, I hope that you're able to learn something from our example and how we were trying to develop an internal communications network that would help make our communications more effective. So to start at the beginning, back in 2005, Korea University began to invest very heavily in the Office of International Affairs. Before that, it was a very small operation that dealt mostly with a few international students and some language programs. However, after our centennial celebration in 2005, the office started to grow and the work started to really increase. And as the work started to increase, we realized when we reflected on our work, what is the role of the Office of International Affairs in relation to the rest of the university? So we had two sort of competing or different ideas on that. And one was that the primary role of the Office of International Affairs is to develop the university-wide international strategy and programs, and it would be in charge of all the interactions with foreign institutions, collaboration, recruitment, and promotion. The other idea we had is possibly the main model for the Office of International Affairs, is that the Office of International Affairs is a support resource, that the real activity of international should be going on at the college and research areas, not in an administrative office primarily. So this sort of self-reflection that we went through during this period of growth led us to ask the question, who is leading the development of the university's international agenda? Is it the administrative offices, or is it actually in the ground floor where all of the actual activity should be happening? Well, in this graphic here, you can see there's an overlap in the two circles. And that overlap area is where we realized we need to have effective communications. Because why? Because these two models for the role of Office of International Affairs will coexist and should coexist. They have to exist at the same time. We do need an overarching administration that can manage, but we also have to push internationalization outside of the Office of International Affairs if we can really say that our university is internationalized. So so basically, after this self-reflection, we realized that we need to have effective communications. How to do this? Through a formal structure for communications, which we called the Korea University International Correspondence Committee. What is it? It's an internal communications network managed by the Office of International Affairs with members from various departments throughout KU. And what's the benefit of this communications network? For the Office of International Affairs, the benefit would be to receive information from the rest of the university for effective planning, strategy, and promotion. And for the colleges and departments, it's to effectively support the international initiatives at the college and department level. So, okay, we identified the issue, we theoretically conceptualized the network. The next step was to roll it out. So in April of 2009, we decided to launch this internal network after we received the support of upper-level administration. We even made a very nice little booklet, and we held a half-day event, invited all of the relevant members from the various departments and colleges, and here is how we launched it. We first talked about the vision of what this KU-ICC would be. We also explained which departments and colleges would be involved, what their role and responsibilities would be, and also their connection with international promotion through our international newsletter. So the vision of the KU ICC is essentially to make KU more fully internationalized at all areas and in all departments, not just in the Office of International Affairs. The purpose is for sharing information. It's a network to share information for the evaluation of partnership proposals, promote to external audiences, and to assist with delegations and visitors to KU. This slide here shows you the areas there that would be represented in the network. You can see there's a number of administrative offices, as well as colleges, academic areas, research areas, and student support. This slide here and the graphic here on the side here, this shows the interplay between how the Office of International Affairs and the other areas of the university will unfold, especially related to the four main responsibilities and roles that we identified for the network. You can see the administrative offices, student support services, and research administration with OIA in the middle, and at any one given time they could be connecting, advising, informing, or updating. Okay. Now, so let's be a little more clear on what we meant by update. Well, the role of updating, we thought, was for the colleges and departments and research areas to let the Office of International Affairs know what they are doing. Often there's activities going on at that level that we just don't know about, and sometimes it's rather embarrassing to find out, especially when we're hosting meetings of visitors and delegations. And of course, the worst possible time is when you're having a meeting with presidents. So that's very important. Next is to advise. So to help the Office of International Affairs know what partnerships are valuable, useful, and important. Next one is to inform. To give presentations to outside audiences, benchmarking groups, and other visitors. And to connect, finally, to assist in identifying meeting participants for academics visiting Korea University. Also, a part of the launch involved trying to sell the relevance to the potential network members. And we did this by explaining what's in it for them. And we said that it was to extend your international outreach, to increase your international partnership base, to develop international programs, to meet colleagues from universities around the world, and to receive advice and support from the Office of International Affairs. And lastly, one of the main roles and one of the most useful areas for me in my particular position is to get the network to support me in the development of our international public relations, which heavily relied on or leveraged our international newsletter, which I have a copy of the recent issue here I can show you. It's on the back table if you'd like to take one with you before you go home. So we wanted their support, especially in that area, because why? Because we would like to talk about international research projects that are going on. We'd like to get a draft article submitted. We'd like to have help with getting photos, etc. So that's how we launched the event and at the network. And at the end of the event, it ended on a positive note where we explained by having our vice president talk about the relevance of internationalization to the future success of the university. We really pushed that internationalization is not an option for universities that want to be leading anymore. It needs to be ingrained in all the areas of the university, and we felt that this network was one way that we could really make that happen. So, success or failure? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Two things. One is after the event, membership was perceived as extra work by the people in the colleges, departments, and research areas. Why? Because we did not include a financial incentive with membership on the network. The other was there was a feeling of lack of confidence by some members of their English ability. So that was threatening the success of this project. And then another thing that might be unique to Korean universities, might not be, is that we have biannual rotation of employees throughout the university. It's, our staff are usually generalists, so they can move from Office of International Affairs to student services, admissions, etc. So not long after this launch event, there was a regular rotation and about 30% of the members were moved. So we had a challenge there. So we realized this network was very important, so we had to come up with some new ideas on new possible configurations. How could we put it together? One is, what if we appointed professors as the members? This would be great because they're not transferred regularly. There'd be consistency in membership. But staff cannot easily assign work to professors. Also, professors have their own agendas for international, and we didn't want to have a situation of the tail wagging the dog. Another possible configuration is, what about our ex-vice presidents for international? You know, our vice presidents change every 4 years, and so they would be great because they know the Office of International very well. And again, though, the staff cannot easily supervise or assign their work, and often because they've been traveling so much over those 4 years, they've burnt out, basically. They have a been there, done that mentality. So that was another option. And then a third option we had was, what about if we had most new hires to the university do a period in Office of International Affairs? Now, we thought this was kind of a neat idea because why? Because our university is very competitive to get a job, so our new hires have very good English abilities. So that wouldn't be an issue. And they would bring this experience of working in Office of International Affairs to wherever they're assigned later on. So we felt this might be a good idea. However, the drawback is that we would lose the departmental memory if there was high turnover in the Office of International Affairs. So where are we now? We have a new president coming in March, and he has an idea on how to more effectively manage the administration, and we're calling it the new president's Administrative Cluster Initiative. So what we have here is the clustering of some colleges here, or say administrative departments under a sort of sub-administration, and in this sub-administration would be a person whose job would be as Office of International Affairs liaison. And the benefit here would be that there'd be fewer members of the network, and so there would be less turnover, plus it would be part of a newly created position, so it would not be perceived as extra work, it would just be part of the job. And so that's where we're at the moment. What lessons have we learned from this experience over the last few years? Well, we learned that no matter what, effective communications between the Office of International Affairs and other university departments and colleges is important. We can't ignore it, and we can't just let it go. If the first conception doesn't work, we have to keep trying. The other lesson we learned was that we need to develop a communications network that matches the reality of our workplace culture. We took a model that came from the corporate world, and it was, on paper, looked great. You know, we had this nice little booklet, you know, it looked awesome, but it didn't match with the reality of what happens at KU. So we have to readapt. So those are the lessons that we learned in building an effective communications network for internationalization at Korea University. And I hope that our experience can help you if you're thinking of developing or enhancing your networks for communication at your university. So thank you very much.